Multifamily Mindset
podcast. Think bigger.
Hi guys, what's up? My name is Dallas Pruitt and welcome to the Multifamily Mindset podcast. We are going to try something a little bit different today, something that's outside the norm for the daily drip. And what I want to do and start doing a little bit more of here on the podcast is respond to questions that our listeners have submitted, some of our students. And I think they're applicable. The purpose is because I think a lot of the questions are similar questions that others have. For questions answers they're looking for on how to better feed growth with new habits they're integrating, with new things they're striving to implement and do and become better at, failures they're facing, just working through the process of becoming. And so today the question came from one of our listeners. I hope he doesn't mind me dropping his name. I'm not going to drop last name, but Sam, we really appreciate you reaching out. I particularly really appreciate the question and the vulnerability in just reaching out and asking for some help here. So one, appreciate you, super grateful for you, and two, encourage others to do the same. We, again, want to start implementing more of this with the podcast. So I want to read through his message that he sent me last week. He said, "Hey Dallas, how are you doing? I joined MFM in June 2022 and have listened to a few podcasts of the MFM podcast. I've always liked how you are straight to the point." Appreciate you. Thank you so much. In the past year, my progress was mostly stagnant from lack of discipline and habits because I typically prioritized college over real estate. And I was having some issues, some imposter syndrome, other things. And since summer, I've been ramping up and making significant progress. Then he dives in. I was never a big reader during school, but I've gotten myself to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and The Alchemist. Great selections, by the way. I'm currently reading Think and Grow Rich and honing in on my definite major purpose and desire to achieve it, which should lead to more drive and success. Absolutely. How do you recommend reading books like these so I can get the most out of them? He asks about how many pages per day, taking notes, reflecting, reading. I wanted to respond to those questions because, one, congratulations, dude. You are becoming, and that is something to be celebrated. And sounds like you are honing in on the most important next steps on your journey. And, dude, I'm just super happy for you. But as for the questions regarding reading, here is what I would say. Here is my response. Pages don't matter. Really, they just don't. What matters is that you are consistent. What matters is that you become a reader. Readers read. Leaders read every day. And pages don't really matter. Yeah, you can set a mark. You can create a routine around some specificity there. But the goal should be to just read every day, right? If you're striving to become a reader, readers read every day. And so consistency should be the goal. Yes, pages, you could lock in on a certain number. But I'd say worry less about the number because day to day things can be busy, things can be less busy. On a weekend, you might be able to sit down and finish 7 chapters of a book, depending on what your current situation is. But readers read every day. Leaders read every day. So just be consistent. The next question was, as for taking notes, my recommendation would be to get a nice pen, get a nice highlighter, and mark that thing up. If I were to pull one of these books off my shelf here and show you the pages, you would see that it's messy. You would see that it's busy. But there's order to what I do. I use a specific system that works for me because the goal when I read a book is to digest the information and make it actionable, not just consume. I'm not looking just to consume information. I want to digest that information. And so pen, highlighter, create a system that works for you. And then I take whatever I didn't understand and I'll go to paper in my journal and really compartmentalize my thoughts, right? So that's part of my reflection process. So on the reflection part, yes, reflect and use a journal, use a companion journal when you read. Super beneficial because, again, the goal is to make it actionable. The goal is to digest this information and make it and implement it in our lives. It's not to just read to read, right? And then rereading. Short answer, yes, all the time. If I didn't understand something, if something resonated super hard with me, those are triggers that, for me, that I need to go back and increase my understanding regarding those things, because one, either it's super important and relevant to my life right now, or two, I missed the boat. My focus lagged. I just didn't understand very well what was being broken down. And so those are triggers for me to go back and reread, and I do it all the time. Because again, I'm not looking to read 70 books in a year. I'm looking to read closer to 5 to 10 extremely impactful books that resonate in my life. The things that are being taught are relevant, and I'm able to better my life, live life to the fullest, if you will, learn, implement, fail, and evolve better because of what I'm spending every day doing within the contents of those amazing books. So that's my 2 cents on the questions. Those are the answers that I would give not only Sam, but everybody. And again, reading to lead out in our lives is one of the most powerful habits that we can create. And so that's my invite today, right, is to feed the habit that feeds so many other habits, and become a reader. Become a reader. It's an extremely impactful decision that you'll make. And when you do, think digestion, not consumption, because better input produces better output, and that's the goal every time we hit pages in a book. So have a great day, and we'll see you guys back here on the podcast again tomorrow.